I don't know if that's a question. No. So let me just say again, you will go to your Kaggle and then sign up if you haven't signed up. If you have signed up, find this dataset, chocolate bar ratings, then click on download. Once you do that, just type on the chat section done so that I can be able to be sure that that is done. Just type on the chat section done. So yeah, so I just found this data set better for us to just learn the basic of analyzing data, and then with that now we can proceed to our studio. So make sure you just have, you download the chocolate bar ratings. We just start with that, and then we can move on. So once that is done, just type on the chat section done. So if you're joining us, so if you're joining us, we are going to just go to Kaggle, sign up, then look for this data set and download it. Just that. If you do that, or once you're done doing that, just type on the chat section done, so I can just be able to know who and who is done, so that we can now move on. Okay. Okay. Let me just confirm. Yeah, Mandela has joined us. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm assuming those are 4 dance. So if you're wondering what we are doing, we want to analyze a data set, and Kaggle has a lot of data sets. So I've just picked one of the data sets. So go to Kaggle and then you can search for chocolate bar ratings. You will find that dataset, and then click on download. It will download as a zip file. Extract it, by the way. When you get to your machine, extract it, and then once you're done doing that, just click on, just type on the chat section, done, so that we can move on. So that we can move on. So today we are going to learn about analyzing data using a data set. So can we move on? Is there anybody who is encountering an error so that we can move on? Okay, so I'm assuming those are, I can see there are several dance, so I think we can move on in matters of interest of time. I think we can move on. Yeah. So in case you face any error, just unmute and communicate. Just unmute and communicate. So let us move on. So last week we introduced R. And we talked about the different panes that are there in R. So let me just start this from the beginning. Yeah, so we were able to type our hello world. I hope my screen is visible. We looked at the source pane, the console pane, the environment pane, and of course now there's the environment pane. And then now we have like what we can use to navigate on the files and everything, and also ask for help or research on anything. Yeah, that's pane. So we were able to type a hello world, and we said that when using R, in JavaScript you have, or like any other language, you can, when you're declaring a variable, you can have x is equals to something. So for this case, instead of the is equal sign, we normally use the less than or equals to, the less sign and the dash, and then we say hello world, and then we can easily call out that variable x, and it will be displayed. Okay, so what we didn't do last time, do you want to restart? Okay, let me just cancel that. I don't want all that. So this is trying to install this because we got there. So what I did this time, I just had a lot of notes written on the source pane so that we can be able to just move along. So there's something I want to mention. Last time we didn't check on how to save an R file. So we can save it using the R Markdown, which has an extension of .rmd. So the good thing with a Markdown, you can be able to just run a specific chunk of code. You can see if I come here on run, I do want to run that current chunk, the next chunk, or the selected line. So that's the good thing about using the R Markdown. So just go ahead and then just click the save, and then, okay, so for me, I'll just save this current, but I want you to just go ahead, click on save, even if it's a new file, you don't have anything, just save it and save it whichever name you're going to give it, and then do a .rmd, meaning R markdown. I hope that is clear. I hope that is clear. So with that now, whichever code we write on the source pane, we can be able to get the output on the console. So I don't know if it's going to now accept. So it wants to install this all over again, yet I've already installed, so that's what I don't want it to do, but it's going on ahead and doing it anyway. So after doing that, I want us to install these packages, the RCPP and the tidyverse. So the tidyverse is a collection of R packages for data science. The packages include the deep layer. I think, I don't know if it's deep layer, this one, deep layer for data manipulation, tidyr for tidying, read R for data import, string R for strings, forecast for factors, etc. And then the RCPP provides R functions as well as C++ classes, therefore offers integration between R and C++. So just go ahead and try do that. If an error occurs, which also for me it occurred since this was, like I said, I had to get a whole new machine. So since this was a totally fresh new install for R, an error also occurred on my end. So just go to your terminal, now your machine terminal, and type this, especially if you're using Linux, of which I'm assuming all of you are using Linux, use this. Use that sudo apt. Yeah, so I hope this is clear. Everybody can see that.
Please paste it on the chat.
Okay. So the sudo command, right? Or even the install packages, or just the sudo command. So let me first paste this one. So, and window users, have you encountered an error? First of all, you might not encounter an error, so this is just in case. Atieno, Winnie, have you encountered an error? So, nope. If you've not encountered an error, then you don't need to. So that is the command. This is for Linux. So Windows is actually pretty straightforward. Because the last time also I had Windows and I was using R, it was just pretty straightforward. I think with Linux, that's where it gets a little bit, it has some errors and all. But yeah, just go ahead and type that. So I have pasted it on the chat. So is there anybody who has, okay, once you do that, once you install and it's finished installing, you'll see things like this. You'll see stuff like this. So even if it has errors, it will give you the errors inside the console terminal. You'll be able to see error, maybe you have this is not installed, blah, 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 blah. So, but if it just works well, you'll see that everything is installed and there's no error. Is there anybody who has encountered an error? Anybody who has encountered an error? So if you haven't encountered an error, let us read in this package, this tidyverse package. So just type library tidyverse. Just type that. Library tidyverse. And after you type, okay, let me just mention this. You see, once I installed the packages, I just went ahead and clicked on the run selected line. So just do the same so that that can happen. And then after that, now type the library tidyverse, run it as well after it has installed successfully. And then it should also now work. So if I just run that. So, okay, mine is already, I think, installed. That's why there's nothing much happening. But some, you should see some commands and some ticks somewhere. Use library tidyverse, this command here. So for those who are joining us, we are getting a database from Kaggle. So go ahead and sign up on Kaggle and then look for this data set, chocolate bar ratings. It will have these flavors of cocoa.cvc, that is comma separated variable, so values, and then click on download. Click on download. You can either download it at the top or you can just download it here directly. You will see it come with, you'll see it download on your pane. Excuse me. If you download the top one here, it will come as a .zip file. So once you extract it, you should get these flavors, blah, 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 flavors of cocoa, not blah, 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 flavors of cocoa.cvc. And then after you do that, since it's just clicking, go to your RStudio, save that file, and give it an extension of that RMD, which means R Markdown. So I say the best thing with R Markdown, it enables you to run a code, either that line or it gives us the advantage of running chunks of code. That's specific. You can see this has like a drop down. Yeah, and it gives us more information. So should actually maximize on this because I wrote notes in here. So yeah, you can even see I wrote, if an error occurs, go to the terminal and type that command that I have given on the chat section. If you can't see it, just tell me, I'll type it again, and then read read the tidyverse package, that is library tidyverse. So ukifika, okay, sorry, if you get here at library tidyverse, just type done so that we can now move on to the next part of reading in the file. We can now move on to the next part of reading in the file.
Sorry, Stella. Hi, just a
Hi.
question here.
Yeah, no
So
problem.
after downloading the packages, after it's
Mm-hmm.
done, do we have
Mm-hmm.
to now do the line for library tidyverse? You also mentioned something about running. I got a bit lost there.
Okay, no problem. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
okay,
So
once you get to this part, okay, let me just get it. Once you install these packages, if you have no error, right? If it hasn't given you any error on the console, so just check the console if this is working well. Is it working well for you? Has it told you that everything has been installed?
Yeah, it's given a list of all the packages that have been installed
Okay,
successfully.
great. Okay, great. So in that case, not just read in that package, library tidyverse, just read it in.
Okay,
That's what you shall be using. So the first is just to install the packages, and then now let us read in that package that we shall be using.
okay, thank
No problem. Okay, guys, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys reach this point, line 9 on my in my case, just type in the chat section done so that I can know, so that we can just be at par, because I don't want to totally leave you guys behind or something. So just type done. Once you get to library tidyverse, you will see, once you type this library tidyverse, you will see also something run on the command with some ticks. If it has worked well, if it hasn't, it will tell you that that package is not being found. So mostly if it tells you that that package is not done, just use there. If you're on Linux, just use this. For Windows, it's hard for it to have an error. The less I may remember. If it does, just say so that we can just help you out. So once you get to that point, just type done, done, done. Or I move on. So I'm just waiting for responses so that I can move on. That's what I'm waiting for. I'm just waiting for responses so I can move on. So if you're joining us, okay, Wanchiru has said that she's done. Okay. So if you're joining us, let me just do a quick recap for those who probably, with the internet and all, sometimes we might just keep being dropped off and all that. So we are using the Kaggle. So you should go sign up on Kaggle, this, and then once you're there, find this data sets, chocolate bar ratings, where at the bottom you'll see the flavors of cocoa. So click on download, it will give you a flavors of coco.csv, meaning comma separated values. So, or if you click at the bottom, at the top here on downloads, it will give you a zip file. Extract that zip file on your machine. Now come to RStudio. If you have a new file, save it as an R markdown. So that is using the extension .rmd. So whichever name you give, .rmd. And then we are going to be using the RCPP and the tidyverse packages, though mostly first we shall start with the tidyverse. So just click on install.packages, C, RCPP, tidyverse, and it will show you here. Okay, once you type that, just click on run selected line, and then you will see your terminal looking like this. You will see your terminal. If it has worked successfully, there will be a lot of this installing. Everything will tell you it's successfully installed. In case that doesn't work, and you're on Linux, just type in this command, which is in the chat. So if you can't see that, just tell me and I will send it again. And then, but use your terminal for your machine, the normal terminal that you normally use on your machine, to set that up. And then you can also, after that, you can just do sudo apt update so that everything just updates. And then now come in, install again. It should not work well. And then read in the tidyverse package. So for those who are here on library tidyverse and yours has worked well, can you just comment on the chat section done, so that we can just, okay, has no package. So use this, Joel, use this. Let me share that again, that command once again. Go to your terminal, I'm assuming you're using Linux. So yes. Okay, so just go to your terminal and type this, the terminal for your machine, and type this command, sudo, to install all that. Once you do this, do the sudo apt update to just update your whole system. And then come ahead again and now restart that process all over again. And that is from here, from install.packages. It should not work after you have done that. It should not work after you have done that. And then get to library tidyverse. I hope that's understandable. Just do that. Anybody else? I have only one done. Only one person has been able to get to library tidyverse. Can I get more responses if yours has worked? Just type on the chat section done. Just type on the chat section done. Okay, so we have also Charles. Who is saying, Tebogo is saying, I'm getting this error after. No package called broom. Okay, so did this first one work? Did this first one work? Like on my case on line 4, did it work for you before you know did the library? Mangena.
Yes,
Did,
it did.
okay. Can I see your code? Are you sure there's no space or anything?
Let me,
If not, I can just see online what can cause this error. Please, if yours works, just type done. If you encounter an error, please communicate so we can make sure we help you. If you're joining us and you don't know what we are doing, also communicate so that we can catch you up. So I have found a solution online, so probably we can just use that and we see if, because I don't know why it's bringing the broom, but somebody has shared this. So just see if you can use this, Magena. Okay, I'm going to give you a brief. So try and use that, install packages, broom type binary. Try and see if that will work. Magena. So what we are doing is go to your browser, go to Kaggle, sign up if you haven't signed up, sign in, and then find this data set, chocolate bar ratings, which will have something, these flavors of cocoa. So click on this download button here. It will download and give us a flavors of cocoa.csv, comma separated values. So that is the meaning of CSV. So once you do that, remember you can also just look for chocolate bar ratings and then you will see the flavors of cocoa. And then now come here to your RStudio and we are going to be installing these packages. Okay, before we install the packages, first save this working space, the source pane, save, click on save. It can be up here or this. This thing usually looks like a floppy disk or something. So save that file with an extension .rmd, which means R Markdown. And then once you save it to the R Markdown, which will help us to run in chunks and things like that. So now come ahead and type install.packages crcpp and tidyverse. In case you have an error and you're using Linux, use this command, if you have an error, just tell me and you're using Linux, and then I will share again the command if you can't see it on the chat section. Once you run this package, okay, once you go on your terminal and run this command, do the sudo apt in update to just update everything. Come again and do step 4, line 4 all over again. Once you do that, you will see your code looking like this. You will see your terminal coming up looking like this, having installed anything. If in case there's an error, also the error will show up in here and tell you where the error is. So if there's no error, type library tidyverse so that we can start using that library. So Magena, has yours worked? Has
Yes,
yours
Stella,
worked?
I've used the command that you sent me and
Mm-hmm,
it installed Broom successfully.
mm-hmm,
After that, it says, I did the library tidyverse and then it showed packages that were attached
mm-hmm.
and some conflicts.
So there's still an error, or it's just saying that it's successful? Because if there are packages, there should be some ticks adjacent to
Yes,
those
it has
packages.
some ticks for attaching packages and
Uh-huh.
then it says conflicts. There are two conflicts for filter and leg or something. I don't know what's that.
Can you just share your screen?
Okay.
Please, if you encounter an error, just type on the chat section. If you get to this point successfully, library tidyverse, type done so that I can know the number of students who have been able to successfully get to that point. Okay, so let me just look at our code. So if you just joined us and you need a recap, just tell me. So for those who have been able to get to that point, just share. Muigai, Ken Joel, has yours worked? Ken Joel Muigai, has yours worked?
Unfortunately, I'm still stuck.
Okay, so just share your screen after Magena does it. So Magena, we are just waiting for you. Should I guide you on how to share your screen?
No,
Or you're
I'm
aware?
trying to share now. Yeah.
Okay. So I think I will just have to call people out and ask them if they have been able to do it. Karaoke Dennis, are you done? Because I only have Wanchiru and Charles being done. Karaoke Dennis, have you been able to do that? Yes. Okay, what about, okay, let me first look at Magena's. Um, okay, I can see where it's giving you the conflict. However, what I need it to do has already been done, but let me just confirm why it's giving you a conflict. Let me just look that up. So,
Okay.
with the player filter. Okay. So they're saying, okay, so let me just share with you how they're saying you can solve that, and then you try doing it.
Okay. Should I stop sharing my screen?
Yes.
Then
Ken Joel, you cannot just share your screen. So let me just type this on the chat section. Okay, Marilyn, I will recap on how to do that, but just go and look at chocolate bar ratings in the meantime, and
Can
then
you see my screen?
yes.
Okay, so I've had to restart it again. So it's currently installing, and
Mhm.
it's going to be okay after this.
Okay, you will just tell us if it
Okay.
works.
Okay.
Let me just share the screen so that people can be able to follow up. Those people who have been able to join us a little bit late. So yeah, and then after, so so what's her name? Magena. You'll first use the install.packages conflicted, and then they're saying later on, like you are doing library tidyverse, you can now do library conflicted and then library deploy. See if that works, and then you can now give us a feedback on that. So I was saying this is how you're going to, so for those of us who have joined us late, this is how we are, this is what we are doing. You come on Kaggle, right? Sign up or sign in if you already have an account. Get this data set, chocolate bar ratings, chocolate bar ratings. Then, sorry, after that, just come at the bottom of the screen. You will see these flavors of cocoa.csv. Click on downloads. Click on download and it will download as such a file like flavors.csv. Just see it at the bottom of your screen or maybe in your downloads if you're using Windows. Once you do that, now come to your RStudio and run line 4, install packages. This is the vector C, just to be a collection, and then RCPP and tidyverse. If an error occurs and you're using Linux, just tell me, use this command on your terminal. Use this command on your terminal. The terminal for your machine. So you just have to go find it, which you can, and then use that command. So I've just typed it again. Okay, so Magana said that has worked, so that's dope. So after that, okay, where are we? Yeah, you will now use that command in case you find an error after the install packages. If you don't find an error, which you will see an error when you do this, when you come to, and once you type, sorry, let me just say something. Once you type this, install packages, click on it and click on run the selected line. So let me just cancel. So since I already have it, and then you will see a lot of commands like this. If it has an error, it will tell you inside the code and all that. I mean, inside the output and all that. If not, if it will just install successfully, it will also tell you that everything has been installed successfully. And then you will now load up the tidyverse package using library tidyverse. Once you get to this point, just say done so that we can be able to move on. So let me check if there are other people who have been able to do that, or I just call out your name and ask you if you have been able to do that successfully. So Ian Irongo, have you been able to do that? Ian Irongo, have you been able to do that? Ian Irongo, have you been able to do that? Okay, Joseph. How about you, Joseph? Have you been able to do that? Joseph. Okay. Marilyn Chebet, have you been able to do that? Marilyn Chebet. So if I just don't get the responses, I will move with those I get the response. Nurhan Muhammad, have you been able to do that? Nurhan, have you been able to do that? Okay, Marilyn is saying yes, Yurhan. So Alvin is asking, how do I create the child.rmd file in R? You see, you can just go to file and then how you can save as, and then you cannot give it a name, it doesn't have to be trial. And then now the name, and then give it an extension of .rmd, and then it will automatically save. Otherwise, you can just come here, just you can see save current file, and it will automatically guide you to where you can type that, and now you can give it a .rmd. Okay, so I think the net is a little bit stubborn on some people. Let's see, they can keep joining. So Mwege, yours has worked. Ken Joel, has yours worked?
It's still installing.
Oh, okay. Sawa sawa. So we can just give like an extra 5 minutes, and then now we can move on. We can just give like an extra 5 minutes, and then we can move on. So if you have a question, just drop it on the chat section. If yours works, just say done so that we can just be able to guide you.
You had mentioned Broom. Do we need to type install packages Broom and then run the file?
No, it's just that her error, and when she did hers, it brought up that error. So we were, we were just resolving that. But we currently don't need it, or I'm not going to use it for this class
All right.
for today. Yeah. So we were just trying to resolve that error. So we can just give people 5 more minutes. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I think I will move on with the assumption that we are all at the same pace. If you feel like you're totally left behind, just leave it on the chat section and I shall do a recap on that. Otherwise, we cannot move on. We cannot move on. So we want to read in that CSV file that you have just downloaded. So for my case, my CSV file was in this path, home, she ready the enroads, blah, blah, blah. So to just get a confirmation of that, I went to my file section. To my downloads. And then now I had I found my file. So yeah, so if yours was zipped, remember to extract it. And then once you extract it, you'll find your file. So you can just look at the properties in case you're not sure of the file path. So you can see parent folder, home, blah, blah, blah. So you can just use that file structure and then can just copy paste it. And then of course, once you're in your R Studio, you can just finish it now with flavors of cocoa.csv. So chocolate data is just a variable name. So I want to give all this file a variable name, chocolate data. So that's what I have done. So I said chocolate data is equals to, where remember we said in R the is equals to is replaced with a less sign and a dash, and then read comma, that is comma separated values. And then since this is a CSV file, a comma separated value, so and then I put that in quotation marks and put my file path there. So why is it called, why am I saying it's a comma separated value? If I open this up, so if you have Excel or something, if you just come ahead and open it, okay, so wait, I should have first quit that. Let me just quit it. Okay, first quit. Okay, so let me just try this again. Let me just open this should not be showing up like that. Don't know if it's because of okay, so I don't know why I think I don't know what's happening with my machine, but you can just open it with whichever editor you have, either be the Excel, and then you can just see the files. You can just see the files how they are before you transport them. Otherwise, we will also look at them here. We will also look at them here. So if I just click on this, remember I have given my data a variable chocolate data, and then said read underscore comma separated value given that path name. And then now I am running that. So if I run that, so it will give me the columns that my data has. So we have the specific, bin origin, we have the dates, all this. So if I come ahead and now I think by now you should also have a data set here on your environment. So you can also view the chocolate data. You can also type this comment view chocolate data, or you can just, if it's here at the environment, you can see a table icon. If I decrease this, I will find my data, company maker if known, specific bin origin or bar name, the reference, the review date, the cocoa parent, the company location, the rating, the bin type, the broad bin origin. So this data set has 9 columns, but it has 1,795 rows. So yeah, so I can now go back to my trial. So has everyone been able to do that? Have you been able to just type yes if you have been able to load up your data set on your R Studio? Have you been able to do that? Just type yes if you have been able to do that. And if you are late and you don't understand what we are doing, just type that so that I can just do a small recap and then you can be able to catch up. So if you have been able to see your data set, just type yes, please, on the chat section. Just type yes, yes, yes. If you don't know what you are doing, probably you have just joined us, just type that I have just joined so that I can do a small recap. If you've experienced any error in installing the packages, also communicate that. So I can only see one yes from Wanjiru. How about the others? You have to be interactive so that I can just be sure that we are on the same page. Should we type all this? Okay, let me just do a refresh for those who have just joined us. And if you have been able to read the data set, just type here. So for those who are joining us, go to your Kaggle account. Okay, and find chocolate bar ratings dataset. Once you're in your Kaggle, you should either sign up or sign in. If you haven't yet created that account, sign up. If you have created that account, just sign in. So go to your chocolate bar ratings dataset. At the bottom, you will see flavors of cocoa.csv. Click on download. It will download. You will see the download progress. And then while that is doing that, though it's just, you see, as you can see, the size is pretty small. So now come to your R Studio, type this, install packages, type whatever is in black on your, okay, first, before you start typing, just save your workspace, go to your file, save as, you can save it like mine trial.rmd, but it should be .rmd, that is meaning R markdown. So the best thing with R Markdown, as you can see, even here, you're able to run it in chunks. You can run your code in chunks. You don't have to run the whole thing. You can just run whatever specific you want. So that's the good thing about R Markdown, of which that's what you are going to use. So first, save your file with an extension trial dot or whichever name you're going to give it, but the extension should be .rmd, meaning R Markdown. Once you do that, come ahead and type install.packages, this the RCPP and the tidyverse. So once you do that, click on run the selected line. So for those who have already done this, let us just be patient. Since this is an online class, you can imagine that some internets are slow, so don't be impatient. And also it's just a good way of you just um, getting really what is happening. So we just install. Once you do that, you will see all these instructions if it runs successfully. If it doesn't run successfully, it will also tell you that something has not run successfully or there's an error. If there's an error, communicate in the chat section. I will help you rectify that error. If there is no error, go ahead after you have installed, go ahead and read this library. Now the tidyverse, since that's what you're going to be using, the tidyverse, read that library. So using that, and then after that, now we will give our file that we have just downloaded from Kaggle, a variable chocolate data. We read it since it's a comma separated file. That is the meaning of the CSV. I mean, comma separated value file. So the read CSV, and then I found the path for my file. So when I came to my files, since this was one of the files, if I just look at the properties, I can be able to see where my path is in case you're not sure. So you can just do that, and then of course in the end you'll end with the comma with the name of the file itself. So get that file name, and then you should be able to now, once you get there, and in each and every command, make sure you run the selected line. So for my case, I ran that selected file. And if you just need to view that, you can just say view. Although it already gave us that, but you will see also, and once you do this, you'll also see it on the environment variable app, an example of, you'll see a table icon or something like that. So once you click on it, it will take you to the data set immediately. You can also type this view chocolate data. That's why I didn't keep typing it, because I knew if I could just type there, it will just automatically appear on the console. And then now you will be able to see your data set on the source pane. So our data set has 9 columns and 1,795 rows. So we can't look at all those, but we are able to know that. So if I come back here, I can now continue performing operations on that. So if you have been able to get to this level, please type yes. If you have encountered error in any of the previous operations, just also type that so that we can help you correct that specific error, since of course you can find some machines have different errors than others. So I have only 4 yeses. I have a yes, chill. No, I have 3 yeses. I have an yes from Wanjiru, from Wigai, and from Charles. So anybody else who has been able to see their data set, or if you're encountering an error, just type that or unmute and ask. Okay, so we have another yes. Anybody else who has been able to get to that level? where you have given your dataset a variable name and you have been able to access it and see your dataset on R. Anybody else? Okay, great. So can see more yeses are coming in. So since there's nobody who is having an error so far, we can now move on. So Julius, I hope I have guided you on which commands to specifically type. So just type what I have specifically said. So I just wanted for this class to have the notes already on R, because last time I had written them down and I think I was struggling to read my own handwriting. So now I just wrote them as comments. So that is the blue part. Okay, Sawa Julius. Okay, so now we can move on. So I will use the head to read a few lines of the file, since as you can see our file has a lot of rows. So if I just click on that, on the head part, so you can see on the console, I'm able to just read a few lines of my data set. So if I want to read a few lines at the bottom of my data set. So, okay, I have performed some operations on my data set, so probably you might notice some things are different, but as long as you're able to see the data set, that should be the main goal, just being able to see the data set. Okay, so I have used the tail to read the last 3 lines of my data set. So that's what I'm doing. I'm saying tail chocolate data. So even for this, for the head, I can specify the number I want to just see. So if I run that, you can see I'm seeing now the first 7 rows of my data. So the same thing for the tail. I can just be able to see a few lines, a few rows from the bottom of my data set, like from the end. So if I just want to read like the last 3 rows, instead of you having to scroll all the way to the 1000 plus, so I can just be able to see these are the last few rows of my data set. So I can also remember when we were doing data frames last week. So we said a data frame has a row and a column. So to get the contents of the 6th row and the 4th column of my data set, rather than me having to go and find that specific row and that specific column, I can just type chocolate data. So remember, chocolate data is because we gave this data set that name. You can give it whichever name you want apart from chocolate data. So I just gave mine chocolate data, and then that's why we are using it. So I will just come ahead and say chocolate data, put that in square brackets, and then access the 6th row in the 4th column. So if I run that, you can see what happens. It gives me that value 2014. Okay, so I can also get contents in the 6th row. So I don't want to specify the column. I just want it to be in the 6th row. So to be able to specify the rows without, okay, to just be able to display the rows, you have to add the, okay, so that you can be able to display the rows, you have to add the comma. So we shall also see without having the comma what will actually be displayed. So if I just run that, you can see what happens. It gives me the content of the 6th row. So if I want to just see the content of the 6th column, That is what happens. It gives me the content of the sixth column. It also adds that there are more rows that are not being displayed, since remember we said our data set has 1795 rows. So we can now move on. Okay, is there anybody who has been left behind? Just unmute yourself and say so if you have been left behind or you really don't understand what we are doing.
Excuse me, Stella.
Mm-hmm.
So I got confused when you accessed the sixth row. So
Mm-hmm.
what happens when you put the comma in front of six?
So you see, it's able to give me the contents of all the rows. I mean, of all the columns. You see, it just gives me that sixth row and all its contents without specifying. I just want for a
Oh,
specific column.
okay, okay, thank you.
Anybody else with a question? Okay, is there anybody else who is totally confused with what we are doing, what we are handling? Probably you have joined late. Okay, great. So remove some data, probably you don't no longer want to use it or something of that in that data set. So we do that by placing a negative sign in front of the index you do not want. So for this case, if I want to just remove the first row, but get all the data sets, but remove the first row, so I can just do chocolate data is equals to, so remember the less sign and the dash means is equals chocolate data, so -1. So this will remove the first row. So I can also remove the sixth, the seventh in just that manner. So if I, okay, let me first just remove the first one. So yeah, it will show me the rows. So you see this one starts with Kpime. Let me see what starts, the first one we had before started with. So you can see the other one was this one, Agua Grande or something. And then now we can see that this one, the first row has been eliminated. Yeah, so you can just use any value and see how that will work for you. So of course, I can just display the first few rows using the head function as we did before. So yeah, that's just it. Yeah, so it has gone ahead and removed it again. I think it has run that code twice. So it has removed the Kipime now. Now we are starting with at Sane. So that's it. So and it has given me a few rows which are at the top of my data set. So that is done. So we can also see like in our database, and if you remember from last week, we had a lot of errors because of having spaces, and R would really operate weird because of those spaces. So how do we make sure that we get rid of spaces in our column names? So to allow us to refer to the columns by their names, since you remember R is affected by white spaces. So we go through a stage that we call data cleaning. So I'm just giving them, I'm just making sure that these hashtags, just to comment them out. That's what I'm doing. Okay, so we now go through a process where we call data cleaning. So this is ensuring that the data type in the column is the type that we actually anticipate to have. So we can use a string, not a string, let me just say an str function to check our columns so that we can see which data type each columns has. So let us first just run that. So, okay, so like I said here, we have to get rid of the white spaces. So to do that, we implement this code here. So this replaces the GSUB, is used to replace or to substitute something that you don't want in your code. So for my case, I don't want any space to be there. So it will do that. It will remove any space, any underscore or anything. So that is what is happening. So you can see the first row shows the class of the object, and inside there is a special type of data frame called table, abbreviated as TBL. You shall see it once we run this code. This table, okay, so for this, okay, let me just run this code. So like I have said, this first command removes those white spaces that I'm talking about. And then now I use this string to display the columns, and so that I can also be able to know which data type each column has. So I'm assuming you all know the different data types that are there in programming: the string, the integers, the float, the booleans, all that. If you don't know, you can just tell me, I'll recap on that. So if I just run that, so this, I have run the first part and also the second one. I think it also just ran automatically as well. Yeah, so if I just maximize on this, you can see what is happening. Now I have that table. So it's telling me that this is a 179.3. So remember, because I deleted 2 rows and it has 9 columns, so I removed that. So we now have our data frame. So we can see that the first one, the company maker if known, is a character data type, and then the same for the origin. We have a ref, I think it's reference or something. It's a number. We have the review date is also a number. We have the cocoa percent. So mine is showing character. I don't know, yours might be showing number, so I will just show you on how to convert that. Or it's supposed, is it showing, guys, can you just confirm for me, once you run it, do you see the cocoa percent showing character or number? It should be it's showing character now, right? It's showing character. Can I get a confirmation from your end? Is it showing character or number once you run that?
Character.
Yeah, so of course that is wrong. So we know these are numbers, so we need to change that, right? So character France making sense, rating, these are numbers making sense. Bin type, these are characters, so that makes sense. So origin, these are characters, so that makes sense. So we have to make sure that this one, cocoa percent, is displaying as a number since they are numbers. So how do we do that? And that's not part of data cleaning. So how do we do that? So okay, I think I went ahead and did something else first. So I said, how do I read in the first few values of column called rating in the data frame? So you use that code. You can just come here once I run it. So if you just want to see for the part called rating, a few of its values, you can use the head, chocolate data, $ rating. So now let us get back to our data cleaning. So The tidyverse package has a lot of utility function, one of them being type convert. So which we will look at the first 1,000 rows of each column, and guess what the data type of that column should be, and then convert that column into that data type. So it looks at that data type. So for our case, of course, we noted that this should be a number. So what the type convert should come and do is look at each data type and see, okay, this is a number, it should definitely be a number. This is a number, it should definitely be a number. This is a character, it should definitely be a character. So we use that function. So we will now come and say chocolate data, type convert chocolate data. So if I just run that, so it just gives me the column specification and all that. So if I now check if it has altered my data types, so I just use the str chocolate data to just check the data types once again. So we can see it's just giving us the same output that we had before. Okay, it has done something only that our data probably might not be able to see it. But the most highlighted one is that our cocoa percent is still a character and we want it to be a number. So what is actually happening? So what is somebody has something to say? So what is happening is that percentage sign is confusing our compiler. So we can say, you can see the cocoa, so that's why I wrote this down. The column cocoa percent is a character, not a numeric value. So this is probably because the data in this column contains a percentage symbol, which isn't a number. So let's remove all the percentage symbol from this data set and try again. So to do that, we normally use the sapply function, which takes a list, a vector, or a data frame as input and gives the output as a vector or matrix. So I remember somebody asked about this last week. So we will use the sapply function to convert a data frame to a vector or matrix. So, and the gsub function is used to substitute the values with the input values. So for my case, what I wrote is chocolate access this column cocoa percent, apply chocolate data where we have the cocoa percent function, a function of x, where the gsub substitute the percentage of that value, and it just leaves it as an empty string so that it removes that percentage and just gives it an empty string. So if I do that, so I run my code, you can see that now our cocoa percent has no percentage anymore, and it has automatically changed to a number. It has automatically changed to a number. So yeah, you can just go ahead and still type convert again so that your compiler can now do its work using the tidyverse package. It will still just give us the same output, and then I can just check the data type again just in case, and then you can just see it just maintains that it's a number. So guys, can you do that? Can I give you some minutes to do that? Can I give you some minutes to do that? Unless there's a question. Is there a question? Is there a question? So if there's no question, if yours works, just type on the chat section done, 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 so that I can know that we are all at par. So that I can know we are all at par. So once you successfully just do that, just make sure you type on the chat section done so that I can be sure. Okay, so I can see 3 dones. Can I get more? If you're done, if you've encountered an error, just communicate please that you have encountered an error. Okay, so I believe those are, I can now move on. So we now want to be able to implement, summarize our data in various ways. So first, let us summarize this data. So to just be able to see more about the summary, of course, we can just do a question mark summary. If you run this, you can see here. Okay, first, it gives us a summary of what our data is about. So we have the length. We also have the median, the mean, the third quartile, the max. This is for the ref. This is for the ref. Now, and it also has a minimum. This is minimum, this is maximum. So when you come to review date, we also get that minimum and that maximum and all that, the first quartile, the median, the mean, and the third quartile. We also have at the cocoa percent, we also get the minimum, the maximum, value now. The first quartile, the third quartile, the median, and the mean. Company location, that's a character. So on the rating as well, we will have the minimum, the maximum, the same thing. And then bin type and bin origin, those were characters. So we just get the length. So you can also come here. If you just increase this, you will get more information about the summary. So, right, yeah, the summary. So you can be able to see more information about that specific function, its arguments, just how to use it and all that. So that is something that I would advise you to just look into. So if I now come here, I will also have what we call summarize all. So if I just run that, so if I increase that, you can see it's almost the same information as we had. Um, there's nothing added, but you can also just get to see more about it on the information. You can see there's the summarize all, affects every variable. The summarize at affects variables selected with a character vector or vars. And then we have summarize if affects variables selected with a predicate function. So I would also advise you to just go ahead and just look at that so that you can just be aware of how that is done. So okay, so when I did this, okay, so I can say summary chocolate data, but we already saw the error, I mean the output for this. We already saw the output for this, just basically the output that you have just been seeing. So when I did this, it said that the deep layer function has been outdated, as you can see. So that is something I think I can give just as an assignment, how to use that even as much. Okay, it was showing me, but this really doesn't make sense. So I think probably for the percentage, yeah, it makes sense. But you can see there are a lot of warning messages. So that is something we can figure out before the next class. And once you find for the mean, also find the standard deviation. Also find the standard deviation. So I would advise you, or I would just give an assignment of you finding a data set of your choice. Find a data set of your choice on Kaggle and just perform those specific, or not specific, perform some operations on that data set. If you just come to home, so for me it's just so okay, data, not the data. Yeah, it will give me the different data sets. So you can see Netflix movies and TV shows. I think that's also a great data set to analyze. But also something I realized is some of them are a little bit heavy. I mean, it has a lot of size associated with it, but this doesn't have just 1 MB. We have 93 KB, kilobytes to 95. So just pick a data set of your choice and load it up to your RStudio and perform the various functions. So the next class, I will touch on other methods that we can use, and I will also now get into the graphical side of this. So just try and be on time. And then I believe the next section will be able to do more. Mostly this we are not able to do more because of uploading and rectifying those specific errors. So yeah, other than that, I believe we can call this a class. Other than that, I
Good.
believe we can call this a class.
Let's
Unless there's a
Thank you, Stella,
question.
for
Okay, sorry, Winnie. Unless there's a question, if there's no question, I believe we can call this a class.
thank you, Stella, for the session, and I would also like to thank everyone who presented themselves in the class. Thank you. I will try my best and upload the recording by tomorrow. Good night.
Good night, guys. Good night. Welcome, Julius. No problem. Thank you also for being here. So let's meet next Friday.